guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you about something that is a little bit more personal to me, kind of a deeper topic. As some of you may know through my past videos, throughout my life I have struggled with addiction and substance abuse issues. I wanted to tell you guys more about my journey. I started drinking when I was 15 years old. And today is actually my 1 year sober anniversary, which is phenomenal. It is beyond me. I wanted to cut this video up into a couple parts, so I might do either 2 or 3 parts. I wanted to talk to you guys first about from when I first started drinking up until when I went to rehab, which was when I was 25. I want to share with you my journey, where I'm at now, how I got into that mess, what I do to deal with it. It's definitely a lot easier now than it's ever been before. Let's get into it. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about a ton of my childhood. I'll just kind of preface with, I wasn't abused growing up. I was in a fairly normal home. My parents weren't super poor, but they weren't super rich. I was kind of middle class, I guess. I had everything that I needed growing up. There was a drinking history in my family. I know a lot of people probably feel this way and say this, but I did feel like kind of the black sheep. I never felt like I quite fit in. I was friends with everybody. I felt like a loner, even though I was surrounded by people all the time. So I had my first drink when I was 15. I did get drunk the first time that I drank. I fell in love with it. It was euphoria for me. I was addicted from that very first night. In the years following, did not look so great. I was just getting into high school. I hated school. I didn't want to be there. I spent most of my weekends at parties. I lived kind of in a small town, so a lot of my friends had quads and jeeps and trucks. We would go out in the woods and in the hills and have bonfires and parties out there. And when I was 16 years old, I started dating a guy that was 18. He could get alcohol. I don't know if he had a fake ID or if it was just because we were in a small town. We ended up moving in together, so our house just became the party house. We had friends over every weekend. It was just nonstop drinking and partying. It just got really intense. We would get into screaming matches. We would fight. We would get into physical fights. Both of us had a drinking problem. By the time I turned 18, I wanted to go to college, but it was out of town. I tried to move away. We tried to work things out. It just got really bad. There was a lot of physical abuse, verbal abuse. We just decided that it wasn't working anymore. I started partying by myself because when we were together, at least I had him as kind of like my bodyguard. I would drink to the point of blacking out. Me as a young girl going out to parties, not caring if I was by myself or where I was at or anything. It just became very dangerous. There's a large portion of my life that is very blurry. There was a lot of nights that I would go out, I would drink to the point of being blacked out. That was always my goal. I just thought I was young and having fun and living it up. I was at a party one night and tried cocaine for the first time. When I figured out cocaine would keep me awake and coherent, again, I found another thing that I just connected with, and I was like, I want more of it. They were hand in hand. I would go out drinking and I would just do cocaine so that I could just keep drinking all night. I hated getting passed out. I hated people putting me to bed. I hated people kicking me out or taking me home. I just wanted the party to never stop. It was just became really messy. I would get drunk. I would do all different types of drugs. I would leave. Just a lot of crazy stuff happened, and a lot of it I don't even remember. Kind of grateful for that, but I learned that your subconscious and your body does remember things. There's a lot of healing and trauma and things that I have to deal with now that I don't even necessarily recall going through. And it's messed with my memory a lot. I don't have very sharp memory of a lot of my life. I couldn't hold a relationship after that because I felt like in that relationship was playing the part, like what I thought a good woman should. I was faithful in that relationship, and then after me and him split up, I was definitely heartbroken. I had never felt so much pain in my life from something emotional. It ate me alive. I dropped out of college. I moved back home. It was like, all right, game over. F the world. I hate everything. I hate everybody. I hate myself. Just like party, party, party. I just didn't care. I didn't care about me. I didn't care about anyone else. Definitely just put my walls up. I was not letting anyone hurt me ever again. I probably hurt a lot of people on my path because hurt people hurt people. I didn't know that at the time. Like, well, if I hurt you first, then you can't hurt me, which is a really sad way to live. And I don't agree with that now. Years down the road, one of my best friends ends up moving to Eastern Washington, and he decides that he wanted to get sober. And I was still in my hometown, which I so badly wanted to get away from, but I didn't really have a ton of money, and so I didn't know how, but I kind of felt like that was my out. Like, can I come with you? So I ended up moving over to Eastern Washington, and my intentions were to get sober. I think that we stayed sober for about a month, give or take. Eventually just ended up drinking together again. We had gotten in a couple of different altercations. I was just like, no, this is not gonna work. Like, I cannot do this. This is only gonna get worse. And one night they ended up taking me to the hospital because I was threatening to kill myself. After that night, I was like, yo, we gotta stop. I just moved to my own apartment. Again, it was me on my own going out to party by myself, and that became risky. Showing up late for work, I wasn't showing up at all. I would show up and I would be on drugs or still drunk. Finally, I was let go. I couldn't maintain a job anymore. My addiction was so strong that that's all I wanted to do was just be drunk or high all the time. Days up on cocaine. I ended up having a really bad panic attack, and I thought it was having a heart attack. I ended up going to the hospital. I had to tell the doctor, that I was doing all this cocaine. He was like, you seriously gotta stop. Of course, I did not. I wanted to, but I didn't realize how hard it was really gonna be. In my head, the whole entire time, I was just like, yeah, I'm young, I'm gonna party, I'm gonna have fun, I'm gonna do all this crazy stuff, and then when I'm ready, I'm gonna quit. Every time that I tried to quit, it wouldn't work. I would get 2 weeks at most. It just would not stick. It became really scary. So depressed. I was so unhappy. I was just crawling deeper and deeper into this hole that did not have a light at the end of it. It was just getting darker and darker and darker. One day I was on my way home. I was just bawling my eyes out. I get home and I'm just in my apartment. At that point, I was contemplating suicide. I was too scared. I can't do this. I just kind of had this talk with myself basically. And I was just like, if you want to kill yourself, do it. If you're not brave enough to do that, then choose life. Live your life, because whatever you're doing right now is not living your life. And something hit me. I just remembered that there was a Barnes & Noble down the street. Go to Barnes & Noble, go to the self-help section and see if you can find anything that intrigues you. I was only there for 5 minutes. I go to the self-help section and I pick out this book. It's called The Love Code. I took it home and I started reading it, and literally I felt like I was waking up, and it was just resonating with me. I broke down crying, so happy that I don't even remember exactly the things that it was saying, but whatever it was saying, it clicked with me. It talked about addiction. It talked about wanting to get away and just all these things. At that point, I was jobless. My lease was almost up, I think. Moved back home with my parents. I know it sounds so stupid now, but I was a bartender and a bikini barista. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, if I'm working at nighttime and I'm a bartender and I'm on this side of the bar, then I won't be drinking and I'll just work until close, and then I'll just have my money and go home. As most of you can probably guess, it did not work out that way. One night I did end up drinking with a customer. I ended up out at the casino, was in this car with this guy. A terrible situation. My parents had to come get me. And at that point, I was just like, you have to stop. How many times does stuff like this need to keep happening before you finally decide to quit? I reconnected with a friend that just recently also moved back. Me and him were kind of drinking together, partying together. One night he asked me, do you think I'm an alcoholic? And I just started laughing and I was like, yeah, we're both alcoholics. At the time, I didn't realize the true definition of an alcoholic, but to me, I just thought an alcoholic was somebody that drank a lot. I was like, well, yeah, we drink a lot. We drink a couple nights a week, if not more. So yeah, we're alcoholics. I was shocked. So he ends up calling me a week later and he's like, hey, Allison, I'm going to rehab. I talked to my dad. I think that I have a problem. I was like, what? You're going to rehab? We don't go to rehab. We don't have that big of a problem. We drink a lot, but there's a lot of people that have it way worse than us. That's a big step. That's for people with real problems. I'm thinking I'm a functional alcoholic, even though I just moved back because I couldn't keep my apartment or a job. but still, I continue to try and justify it and make excuses. So he says that he's going to rehab, and I was like, okay, when you get out, I'll be sober with you. I'll be sober the whole time you're there. When you get out, we'll be sober together. I was serious. I knew that I wanted to quit. I was so happy that someone else wanted to quit also. So I had that support. He got into treatment. Not even 10 days could I last. I was wasted again. That really scared me. I was so serious when I told him that I was going to be sober when he got out. I don't know if I can do this. It finally hit me. Maybe he's onto something by going to rehab. Maybe I really can't do this without asking for help. Maybe I can't do this on my own. Maybe I've been, in this loop for so long that I'm not going to be able to get myself out without asking for a hand. While he was in treatment, I ended up talking to my parents, had to break down and tell them some god awful things that I hope no one should ever have to tell their parents. Look, this is what I've been struggling with the past few years, and I really think that going to rehab would be a good thing for me. I don't know, sounds like a big step. I don't have people around me that have successfully gotten sober to ask what they did. So they agreed. I am so beyond grateful for them for that, because they did pay a decent amount of money to put me there. That place gave me my life back. There was people that did not want to be there. I was there by choice. Just a phenomenal experience. I learned in there so much about myself, my addiction, that once you take away those substances, a lot of the time we turn to food. Then I started overeating. I was obviously so used to the sugar and alcohol, so I was craving sweets really bad, and I was gaining weight, so I was getting really depressed from that. Just learning about habit loops. That's where I learned to meditate. That's where I learned to journal. That's where I learned how important exercise and moving and yoga and stretching were. To me, I considered it life school. Prior to that, I'm thinking rehab is for, excuse my language, but tweakers and junkies, just people that really have bad problems, and that's not me. I tried to separate myself. Once I got in there, I was like, no, some people are born and raised in families and in homes that teach these kinds of things. They are taught to meditate. They are taught how to handle their emotions. They are taught communication. They're taught a lot of these skills that personally was not so great at. So when I went into treatment, there was just a lot of things that I learned about myself and about others. My favorite days were the speaker meetings. So there would be people that came in that had gone to school there years prior, that were sober and that had gotten their lives together. They had gotten their families back. They have gotten kids back. They have started businesses. They have gotten fit, all these things. And it was just amazing to see these people that had came from worse circumstances than I was in at the time. And they had all these things that I wanted. I promised myself, I was like, if I ever get to the point of success and I get my life back and I have a better story to tell, then I'm going to help people and I'm going to tell my story, how I got to where I was. It is something that they can do. I myself have seen some pretty dark days. It's crazy to me that I'm sitting here right now to tell you that I am 1 year sober. It is so possible. I will tell you right now, if I had not gotten sober, this YouTube channel would not be a thing. If I had not gotten sober, I would not be fit. I would not be healthy. I would not care about taking care of my body and taking care of my relationships. Would not have a loving partner that I am so very grateful for. He has been a huge part of this journey. He has helped me, and I am so grateful that he's been sober with me. I'm going to make another video from getting out of treatment up until now, because this would be just way too long of a video, and I've probably already been recording for a while now. So I'm trying to not make it too long for you. I just wanted to give you kind of a backstory on how I got into my addiction and the things that I've gone through. I take full responsibility for everything that's ever happened to me. I just focus on the good. I don't try to think about too much things that I left behind. I love the way that I treat myself, and I love the way that I treat others. I love the confidence that I have. If you or anyone you know are still struggling, please don't give up. I know that it sometimes will feel impossible and it feels like the world is swallowing you whole, but eventually you get up, you stand up, and you start walking. If any of you need somebody to listen, I am always here. I know that you will isolate sometimes and you won't want to talk to anyone. Sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger, honestly. So please reach out to me and tell me your stories, your concerns, or anything like that, because I have firsthand experience in this. I've seen families get ripped apart. I've seen people lose their kids. I've seen people lose their lives. I've seen a lot of the dark side of this journey. I'm just trying the best that I can to come out of it and be an example that it's possible, that it can be done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you. I can't believe that I'm 1 year sober today. I'm really sorry. I wanted to have this video out today, but I'm actually pretty grateful that I get to tell this story today because it really hits home for me because I'm like, I did it. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for following this journey of mine. I'll be making another one on my second half of my journey. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.